Is that deja vu? First half offensive struggles leads to much better second half offense, while the defense just has a field day. Regardless, the fighting Bill Belichick's, they got themselves a little winning streak going.
This is Kamori House, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Saturday, November 8th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which just announced is the #1 sports podcasting company in the world. Let's go. Thanks for being part of making it so. Special shout out to all the everydayers with us, all the great members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our great insiders as well. Both of those links, by the way, are in the show notes. We'd love to see you join us. Oh, man, Carolina has done it again. 2015 victory over Stanford. Heels get to 20 for a second straight game. The record climbs to 4-5, climbs to overall, and 2-3 in ACC play. Of course, as we've talked about, kind of difficult because they could, like if Cal and Virginia had gone a little bit better, Carolina could have just gotten themselves to bowl eligibility right now and be sitting at 4-1 in ACC play. But alas, Carolina much, much better. So we always talk, is it going to be a party or a therapy session? It's definitely a party, but maybe a muted party. Like not like last night's blowout after the Kansas win. That was a party. This one's like, yeah, I liked that. It's a win. And we'll take wins right now, right? Yes, ugly first half, but a win is a win is a win, and we move on. What we're learning is that Carolina, 4 games in a row, has just steadily and slowly improved everything they're doing. And look, yes, would we love the offense to be worlds better? Undeniably so. You can't, right? Like, I didn't understand if you're listening to the game on the CW, the announcer's talking about like Gio Lopez has owned the second half. I mean, he was much better, but owned? I'm not going there. Much, much better second half. Absolutely. Without a question, without a doubt. But the good news is all around, all over, in totality, Carolina as a team continues to make strides in the right direction. And now the key, and we'll talk about the defense in a second, but the key, as I said, is this deja vu? Because basically the same thing has happened each of the last 2 games. Halloween night against Syracuse and tonight against Stanford. A first half where the offense can't seem to figure out what's going on. And then in the second half, they come out, first drive of the second half, both of those games, score a touchdown, and then you just keep scoring. Did it again tonight. And you'll take that and you love it. But now the trick is there a way you could do that in the first half? Because this is a team, a Stanford team, that came into this game having lost every road game they had played. This is a Stanford team that came into this game as the second worst team in all of the ACC in terms of yards per game allowed. And Carolina couldn't figure out a way to take advantage of that. I'll explain more in a second. But it's like, now that's the trick, is bringing what's happened in the second half of each of these last 2 games into the first 30 minutes of the football game. Ultimately, you love to see them get a win, and that's what we'll take. Now, as Carolina has done that, yes, back-to-back wins with the defense or with the offense finally getting to 20 in both of them. But as a reminder, it's against the 2 worst defenses in the entire conference. So just keep that in mind as Carolina moves forward. I know a lot of people are probably frustrated about how the fourth quarter played out after Carolina went up. What would it have been, 20-3, whatever it was, as Stanford started to come back. Listen, hear me say this. This is where NFL coaching comes in. Bill Belichick is not playing for style points. He's playing for a W, because at the end of the day, what's going to matter more, that Carolina won this game or that they won it with style and might have risked losing the game in other ways? Carolina just kept Stanford at bay and made the plays they needed to do defensively. It's a clear and obvious sign that Bill Belichick trusts his defense to make the plays that they need to play to make to win the football game. And they did. They did. They didn't take any risks. It's like when a team in baseball has a lead late, the outfielders play no doubles, right? There are balls that might drop in for singles, but they're not giving up extra base hits. It's that kind of thing. Carolina just given that cushion, allowing enough from Stanford, and they knew, like, hey, we're going to get the ball back here on that last possession. Stanford, we're under 2-minute timeout, so they don't get that stoppage. And they've only got 2 timeouts. So by the time we run 2 plays, they use their 2 timeouts. They're going to have less than a minute to work with. And we're going to be able to hopefully pin them at worst at the 20, if not inside. And our defense has done enough all night long that we feel comfortable with it. And that's exactly what happened. So that's kind of this NFL type ending. Now let's go to the offense, which was absolutely atrocious. I mean, there's no other word for it in the first half. 47 yards of total offense, 0 for 3 on third down. The only 3 points they got was basically gifted to them after the fumble recovery because Carolina couldn't get any yardage after that and just settled for a nice field goal there. And part of it, like, I think a lot of people say, yeah, but this team is allowing like 400 something yards a game. But here's the kicker with that. Yes, they are the second worst defense in the ACC in terms of yards per game allowed. But the poor part, the woeful part, the anemic part of their defense is their pass defense. Their rush defense is actually decent. It's kind of middling in the ACC. And so it seemed clear and obvious that what was Stanford doing? They were saying, we're going to like ball up, not let you beat us on the ground and force you to beat us through the air. And in the first half of this football game, Carolina was inept to be able to do so. Because again, it's Stanford's pass defense. It's bad, but Carolina has no passing attack. Now, what they did beautifully, and this is where the coaching comes in, is they went into the locker room and they figured out the wrinkles they needed to and came out and went to work in the second half. Massive kudos for that, right? After going 0 of 5 on third downs in the first half, they started 4 of 4 in the second half. They had more yards on the first drive of the second half than they did in the entire first half. Carolina had 9 minutes and 33 seconds of possession in the first half. They had 11 minutes and 30 seconds in the third quarter. So Carolina's figuring out great stuff there. Again, now it's just putting it all together. Gio, much better in the second half, much better balls. I don't know why Freddie Kitchens continues to roll out this southpaw quarterback to the right, because then as he's rolling, he's got to turn his body while he's going, throw back either against him. It looks so unnatural. Like, stop it with that. Right? There is that. But man, the massive thing is Carolina's defense, which just continues to ball out now week after week after week. We're going to give them their accolades, their flowers, whatever you want to say. We'll do that coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about DoorDash. You guys, the weekend's here. It's time to look back and crown tonight's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving money every time you order. This player delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. Tonight, it's the entirety of Carolina's defense. I mean, these guys are just on one. We're going to talk all the stats and the details of it in a second. But man, and you keep in mind that Bryce Yates is out. Thad Dixon is still out. And yet they are what is keeping North Carolina in every football game, just waiting for the offense to find something. Kudos to this Steve Belichick defense. It's great stuff. When the pressure is on, they come through, no hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, you know that this defensive performance is not a fluke. The Carolina D is on a streak. And just like they delivered for the Tar Heels, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order today. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. And this promo period is going to run all the way through November 18th. Okay, let's get the box score pulled up here for those of you watching on YouTube. If you're listening back to this later, first off, what's up? Glad you're here. But you can go find the box score elsewhere as we're talking about it, but I'll give you the numbers as well. Let's talk about this Carolina defense, which just continues to do work. I mean, my goodness. Let's go to the numbers on it. 9 sacks for this North Carolina defense. 3 each for Melkart Abujade and Tyler Thompson, who are just problems. These dudes are absolutely problems. Andrew Simpson, who was everywhere tonight, had two sacks, 6 total tackles, a forced fumble, all sorts of great stuff. Somebody else had 2 sacks. I'm missing it. Well, that 6, 8. Where am I missing the other one? Oh, and Smith Filbert had the other one. There we go. And so really, really good stuff there. Way to go. But then you add to that, Kamori House had 8 solo tackles, 13 total tackles, and an interception. Beautiful, brilliant stuff there. And that, by the way, we'll talk penalties in a second, so I'm not going to go there yet. But that was so frustrating, that penalty after that. Kamori also had a pass breakup. Quarterback hurries. Carolina forces a fumble. I already mentioned Smith Filbert recovered a fumble that Andrew Simpson forced. Really, really, really great stuff from the Carolina defense all around. Let's see what Stanford ended up with in total yardage. Let's go to the comparison here. Okay, here we go. 320 total yards for Stanford. So they really picked it up there late as they needed to just be in that thing. And Carolina's kind of playing prevent, defense, whatever. No big deal. So more yardage than you would like to give up. But remember, just 100 yards at halftime. I wonder what it was. Let's look at the cumulatives. Third quarter. How many? Yeah, 30 total yards for Stanford in the third quarter while the game mattered. So 190 yards for Stanford in the fourth quarter as they're just trying to do everything they can to get back in this game. So through 3 quarters, Carolina's defense surrendered 130 total yards. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I can live with. Way to go, Heels. So, I mean, the defense, you think about how they've been holding teams down game after game after game at this point, not allowing teams to score. And it's like, even though the offense is struggling, if the defense is holding it down like this, I mean, gosh, okay, in these last 4 games, the 4-game kind of streak that Carolina's on, they're 2-2, could be 4-0. They've allowed 21 points, 17 points, 10 points, and then obviously tonight, 15 points. That's what you got to do. And man, just keep relying on that defense. They got to keep putting it together, and that's what we'll see. Penalties really stacked up for this game in Carolina. It was a weirdly refereed game. I thought the refs kind of struggled themselves. Some questionable calls, fine, whatever. But ultimately, Carolina penalized 11 times for 73 yards. And a lot of them were at crucial times. I was like, dudes, you're just 3 steps forward and 87 steps backward or whatever it is. Now, I said, like, after Kamori House's penalty, one of the Stanford guys was just like laying on him. Andrew Simpson comes in and is trying to get him off, is flagged for, like, you know, the whole, you can't pull a guy off the power, fine, whatever. But the refs aren't doing anything about it. So what, like that kind of thing is just frustrating. But by the end of the third quarter, Carolina was penalized 10 times. They came into this game averaging 5.1 penalties a game, the second best in the ACC. So it's an aberration. I hear that, but they can't. The thing is just not letting that become a trend. Now Carolina has to stop that. And so here's what we look at now. You're sitting here, and we've said this a lot now, but it's like, if you continue this progression, what seemed unthinkable coming out of the Clemson game is now something you can legitimately start to consider. That Carolina, now sitting at 4-5, 2-3 over in ACC play, has 3 games left. As I've said, they play no games outside of the state of North Carolina in the month of November. That started tonight at home. Next week is at Wake. Then they host Duke, and then they're at NC State. I wonder what ESPN's score predictor says about each of those 3 games. Let's look that up in real time, shall we? And see just what the kind of predicted outcomes of those. Oh man, Wake Forest again, CW Network again next week for Wake. Wake is matchup predictor has Wake 66% favorite. matchup predictor has Duke a 79, like basically an 80% favorite over North Carolina. And then the game at NC State matchup predictor has NC State 77.7%. So matchup predictor, not friendly to Carolina in any of basically Carolina is like a 2/3 underdog according to matchup predictor in each of those games. But I don't know that fully and rationally takes into account all the progression and the growth that Carolina has seen. And I think at the end of the day, it's like now you're just, if you're Bill Belichick and this coaching staff, you're just saying, boys, like let the fans, let the media worry about what we're talking about right now. Can we get to bowl eligibility? And maybe they set that goal. Sure, fine. But I think it's got to be the same refrain that they've had all season long. Look, we're just looking to get better one day at a time, one day at a time, one day at a time. And I think all the people, media, internally, externally, whatever it is, that were ready to just be done with Bill Belichick after Clemson, I think there's a new narrative now that has to be told. And I think a lot of those people are probably needing to swallow those words at this point. And I'll say I got caught up in the heat of it all, right? And I was like, dude, if the board had let Bubba Cunningham do his job, we wouldn't be in the mess of all the Bill Belichick brouhaha. And I meant that at the time, and I believed it. But here's what I've loved since then. He came out the next week and immediately squashed all of that talk and said, I'm here, I'm in. And so I think a lot of the noise we were hearing was not legitimate from the inside. It was people speaking into that, people speaking out of turn, and whatever it is. And now we sit here with a team that is trending in the right direction. And yes, you can't salvage this season in terms of like ACC glory or CFP glory. But the fact that you've now gotten to 4 wins and even mathematically have a shot at getting to a bowl game is so commendable for this team and this staff. They've stayed connected, they've stayed together, and now they have legitimate postseason hopes ahead of them. And as part of that, what's cool about it is what remains on your schedule are the other 3 North Carolina teams in the ACC. And so if you can go beat 2 of those 3 rivals, you're going bowling. Maybe not a sexy bowl, but it's a bowl. And from where we sat after Clemson, yeah, you will take that day in and day out. And that's a really, really good thing. All right, here's what we want to do next. I know we got some comments over in the chat. And so if you want to get in your questions, your thoughts, your opinions, go ahead and do that now because we're going to take one more break and then we're going to go over to the comments and see what you guys have to take away from this thing. And then we'll be right back together. All coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, you got to get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items coming from the most trusted brands in the business. They have real-time inventory and honest lead times that keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. You need parts fast for a project? No worries. Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. That is a game changer. The Part Finder tools and their 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every minute and every detail matters. Plus, they've got a Trademaster Perks program where you get things like priority shipping, dedicated support, and lower prices, all sorts of great stuff. It makes the whole process smoother. So go check that out. Visit that or join that free Trademaster program. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up also for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. Again, that's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Okay, let's go over to all your comments and see what you've got. Niraj Manhas says, looks like they have a formula. Dominate defensively the first half while the offense does nothing, LOL. Then the offense wakes up in the second half. I mean, yeah, at this point, it's like, good grief. And let's look at some of the other offensive numbers, right? We mentioned a little bit about Gio there, but in totality for Carolina, Gio finishes 18 of 25, 72% completion percentage. We'll take that, 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jordan Shipp leads the way for the receivers with 83 yards on 5 catches and a touchdown. Obviously, the big play is that touchdown where the poor cornerback, or I can't actually remember who, the secondary player that was matched up on him, slips, and then Shipp just weaves his way through that secondary, man. It was beautiful after that for 6. Great stuff there. Most receptions goes to Kobe Paysour, 6 for 54 with a long of 12. Just that slot possession receiver that you need, that you can trust, that Gio can go to. Really good stuff there. Bullet Goss leads both the rushing attack, if you can call it an attack tonight, I'll explain why in a second, and the receiving yards for running backs. 3 receptions for 51 yards in that touchdown on that nice little wheel route. Great ball by Gio. Gio did have much better touch on some balls in the second half. Still, don't trust the deep ball all the time, whatever with that. Rushing attack for North Carolina was inept, absent. I don't know what word you want to use there. I said Bullet Goss led the way, 11 rushes for 28 yards. That's it. Benjamin Hall, great to have him get back in this game. There was questions. He was questionable officially for the game, whether he'd be able to play or not. Gets 5 rushes for 12 yards. Juju June only had 3 rushes, total of 4 yards. Interesting there. It looked like he wasn't wildly effective in this game. And it is what it is. I mean, that's the nice thing when you've got Goss, Hall, and June as part of that rushing attack. Here's the weird thing to me, though, thinking about the offense. One of the things that was promised to us or said was, man, one of the great things about Gio is that even though he isn't a great passing quarterback, man, he can run and be a great dual threat quarterback. I haven't seen it. Have you seen it? I mean, it's not there. Had a couple rushes, had a long of 8. Obviously, with a couple sacks, that makes, remember in college, the whole thing where sack yardage comes off, your rushing yardage, fine, cool, whatever with that. But there we go. Yeah, the offense, again, has to figure something out in the first half to help the defense. Not like it cannot be a winning formula. As Niraj says, looks like they have a formula. I don't know that it's a winning formula, but at least it's won the last 2 games. Offense has to catch up. Sam Gonzalez. Oh man, great to see you as always. Sam says, is Juju hurt? Why weren't they using him? Nothing that I've heard, Sam. It's a great question. He did get eaten up in pass pro a couple times, and I wonder if that was part of it, is that he wasn't doing like Bullet is strong back there, Ben Hall. And so I wonder if there was an issue there with Juju's inability to pass protect, and we'll have to watch that. So there it is. We'll continue to watch that. Our guy, Matt Zammit down from under in Australia says, who's your offensive and defensive player of the game? My defensive player of the game, despite Kamori leading the way and getting the pick, I think I got to go with Andrew Simpson, with apologies to Kamori House, with apologies to Tyler Thompson, dude, just gets around. I mean, he's always happening. And with apologies to Melkart Abujade, who now has an ACC leading 10 sacks. Oh my goodness, Melkart. But I got to go with the Andrew Simpson coming from the linebacking court. Just there's so many things that he added in terms of tackles, the forced fumble, being around. But it's hard to pick, Matt, because, man, it's so many guys contributed in major ways. I'd be curious who yours was. It was funny. We're so hard on Marcus Allen often as I'm thinking about defensive players on the broadcast tonight. They were talking about like, man, Marcus Allen's had a great game, but he just got burned there. Marcus Allen just had a great game, but DPI. And then he's mean mugging as they're throwing the DPI flag. It's like, bro, come on. What are we doing? So I'm going to go with Andrew Simpson. Offensively, I think I might go Bullet Goss. And here's why. With leading the rushing attack, again, leading 28 yards, but also getting that touchdown, the nice wheel route, good pass pro. Bullet's a guy that coming into the year, I thought this was going to be his backfield to lose. And he has ceded a lot of that to Juju June and to Benjamin Hall. And so I think that's part of it is just, man, props to Bullet for just staying ready. And when his name's called, he's ready to go. And that's part of being a Bill Belichick running back, is in any given game. And I probably should have said this in my answer about where was Juju tonight. In any given game, any Bill Belichick running back might be the guy. And so you have to stay ready. Grand Fresh says they thought the world was coming to an end. By they, I'm assuming you mean like the national media, maybe a lot of the fan base, etc. And Grand Fresh says Bill is 1 year in. He's not Houdini. And that's great. Something, I was just kind of criticizing the broadcasters. I thought something that they did point out near the end of the game that was very insightful was all the expectations that were put on this team for this season to be like world killers. None of that was coming from Bill Belichick himself. That was all coming from everyone's expectations of Bill Belichick. And so now you're starting to see the progression to build towards what could be a much better 2026 and maybe an even better 2027. Like, it takes time. Yes, in basketball transfer portal era, you get 5-6 new guys in and you can flip it like that. With football, it's so much more difficult, man. So much more difficult. And so Grand Fresh, I think that is a great point. Niraj also asks, next year, should we grab a quarterback in the portal or roll the dice with one of the young bucks? I know, hard to know without being at their practices development. If portal, any early candidate? That's a great question from Niraj here. I think, as you said, I think you got to look at the young bucks, particularly Bryce Baker, and see what you've got with him. I think we need to kind of, I'm not sold that Gio's going to get there, but keep in mind, this is a young man who came to this program after spring practice and is just slowly and surely developing. How will he continue to do so over the final 3 games of this season? 4, if Carolina can win 2 of them and get to a bowl game. And what will the coaching staff see in him in the offseason? Knowing the ruthlessness of the NFL, they will be straightforward with him. We don't think you're going to be our QB1, or we think you have a shot to battle for it. And I think that is good for him. Like, it's the healthy thing to do. Don't sell him a bill of goods and then he thinks he's going to have the job and then doesn't get it, right? And so I think you got to keep your eye on the transfer portal to see what happens. And Niraj, to be honest with you, I haven't even started to put a list together in my head of who I would want. So I don't have an answer for that right now, if I'm being completely transparent with it. But that is something that's probably, now that we're into November, it's time to start thinking about, is it Bryce? Is it Gio Lopez? What could it be? Matt Zammit with a great little nugget here, coming back around from down under. Melcart is now 3rd nationally in sacks. That is crazy stuff. Early, love to see it. Niraj, one more question from him, says, any early score prediction for UNC versus Wake? Which, by the way, I forgot to look at my score prediction that I had for this one. I'm scrolling back up. Oh, I'm getting into my notes from last night, from the basketball game. Boy, man, Carolina, good stuff. I can't find where my notes were on it. So whatever with that. But anyway, early prediction for Wake Forest. Carolina is going to be on the road in Winston-Salem. I'm going to go 24-17. Carolina wins at Wake. That's my prediction. All right, there you go. All right, guys, that's good enough. Let's get out of here. Continue to improve. Defense, dude, I keep improving, but just keep doing what you're doing. And then offense, man, you got to make strides. Let's go to Winston-Salem, get a road dub. That would be really, really great. I want to thank all of you for being here with us after the game. Next podcast will be Monday's regular show. We'll unpack basketball game, more from this football game, and all the other action from Carolina this weekend. We will start to look ahead, probably not on Monday's show, but on Tuesday's show, obviously to Tuesday night's game against Radford in basketball. That'll be fun stuff. Obviously, we will be live Tuesday night after the Radford game, so make plans right now to tune in for that. If you want to make sure that you don't miss out on it, subscribe to Locked On Tar Heels on YouTube, hit the bell notification, and then it will notify you like 30 minutes before it's supposed to go live. Like you'll just get I got a little push notification 30 minutes before I went live telling me that I was going live in 30 minutes, right? All of that great stuff is there and available for you. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, I got to ask you why not? Because it's free and it is a phenomenal community of Carolina fans hanging out literally all the time. You will not be sorry you missed out, or you will be sorry you missed out on it. You will not be sorry you joined it. And if you want to go next level with the show, have one-on-one conversations with me and free access to all of my data, all of my stats and record books and all that stuff, join the Locked On Tar Heels Insider Program, a great way to help support the show as we continue to grow. Right now, as of, throughout this week, we have fluctuated between 50th in the world to like 60th in the world in the basketball podcast charts. That's phenomenal stuff. And that chart is littered with Locked On shows, man. You don't want to be anywhere else in the world right now. Yes, that's a Hamilton reference. Thanks for being with us. Not only is it a great day to be a Tar Heel, it's a great weekend to be a Tar Heel. Can't wait to be back with you on Monday. But until then, peace.